Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today once again at smallcapvoice.com. And you see some familiar faces are joining me once again today. We've got Lloyd Spencer. He is the chairman and CEO of CarbonMeta Technologies Incorporated, ticker symbol COWI. Big shareholder update out this week using that ticker symbol COWI. Find that. We've also got Mohammed Khalil joining us once again, and he is the managing director for CarbonMeta Research. Lloyd, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, and thank you for having us.
Absolutely. And Mohammed, it's great to speak to you once again all the way across the Atlantic. Thanks for making time for us there in the UK.
Thank you, and great speaking to you too, sir.
Well, great. Hey, Lloyd, as I spoke about it at the outset and in the introduction, big shareholder update today. And really, it's very timely with some other news we're going to be talking about later on in the interview as well. But the floor is yours, Lloyd. Go ahead and tell us about some of the bigger points, talking points from this shareholder update out this week. Find it again using the ticker symbol COWI. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Yep, no problem. Well, first, I want to thank the shareholders for their patience as we've been building this company. And many of the questions that we've been getting has been in regard to how's the business going. And so what I'll do is I'd like to structure this a little bit where we can talk about the various components of the business and the progress we've been making. And I think our shareholders will be reasonably pleased. First and foremost, everybody asks me about the plastics to the carbon nanotubes and hydrogen business. It's a very exciting business, to say the least. But it also takes an incredible amount of planning and resource planning as well to make that happen. So as an example, we have been working on the phase one of this project, which is to begin to take the process that was developed in Oxford and to scale it up to the multiples of grams, if not, maybe 100 grams of plastic. And to do that, we've had to work with our friends in the UK, but also friends in Europe. And Mohammed, you've been working daily on that. You want to give a quick update on how things have been going there?
Yes, Lloyd. So many things has happened, took place in the last 3 to 4 months in the UK here with our partners in Oxford. Luckily, we have lined up all the resources, all the labs that we need, and from equipment and also from staffing. That is lined up right now.
Yes,
we are ready to start the first phase from our labs in Oxford next week. And there's also one interesting news. I think we should also take the opportunity to share this, that we have submitted a scope of work for a very large petrochemical company in Europe.
Yes.
Technology, and they're working with us. They're currently reviewing our proposal, and it looks positive. So we look forward to sharing the good news with you in the next 2 weeks. So this is what's happening in Oxford. We are also talking not only just to potential client, but also potential partners who can add value, also benefit from the technology we're building in Oxford. But I believe, Lloyd, we have the same thing happening in the States.
As you mentioned, partners are critical to making this business happen. You have equipment vendors we're talking with in the United States, over in Chicago, as well. It's not just the production of these nanotubes, it's also the analysis and purification of them. And we also are building up that lab partnership over in Washington State as well. So the great part of this is that we will be able to scale this business incrementally by working with our developers in the UK. We're going to have some talent here in the United States. We have some lab facilities in the United States and the UK. And as well, we have a lot of interest over in Saudi Arabia. In fact, they really have a lot of interest in this area.
Absolutely. This is just to add to that, since we mentioned Saudi Arabia, since our last discussion with them, there's a huge excitement from their side. They want to have a pilot in Saudi Arabia, and the moment we go back to Saudi, we will work on identifying an end user and also as
Yep.
the partner from day one. But that's probably going to be a follow-up news update.
And congratulations on working with that customer over in Europe. That was a big, a great step forward. It really was.
Thank you. Yes, indeed.
So that's one part of the business. Another part that everybody heard about was with Carbon Source on the 3D printing side, and in fact, where we've been is we have stepped up our R&D efforts over in Everett, Washington, and one of our engineers is making really great progress. And in fact, he finally developed a beta version of this filament, and he's successfully sent that out, in fact, over to you and some others over in the UK, Mohammed. So you'll be evaluating that with some folks so we can test it. And as well, we have actually received beta customer sales. So I am really thrilled about that. So we're expecting the feedback from customers to happen in March and April. And I would say, but I couldn't really say exactly, but usually beta takes anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. So we'll be working on our processes for the production. And in fact, 3D EVO, who is our equipment vendor, they're working hand in hand with us on helping us evaluate the various plastics. One of the most difficult parts of using recycled plastics is that they're not all uniform. So you really have to do some testing up front for the recycled filaments coming in the door. And that brings up the whole point about partnerships again. If you're going to be doing partnership, or if you're going to be bringing in filaments, I should say, if you're going to be bringing in waste plastics to convert over into 3D printer filament, you need to have a reasonably consistent set of partners who are bringing you the plastics in the door. So we've been working with, as you saw in the in various tweets, we're working with a number of retail restaurant groups. I mentioned Grounds Coffee, for example. You know, there are others who are now signing up, and we're now starting to get close to even some recycling companies that take in large amounts of consumer plastics and then pelletize them. So that's the kind of relationships we're working on. So this business will take, I would say, somewhere on the order of 6 months to get to a point where it's going to have a recurring pattern to it in terms of intake of plastic, the production of it, the packaging of the final product. So, but it's making excellent progress. I have to say that Logan, who's the engineer, he's making remarkably good progress every week. So I'm really pleased about that.
Excellent.
Yeah. So what we're now expecting is that we will see that we're able to take in the plastic, to process it, turn it into filament, and document that whole trail, which is critical for a number of reasons. All right, so the third part of this business is the pavers, and that was a bit of an unexpected one for me, and it was something you brought to the table, Mohammed. And you've made phenomenally good progress over the past even 2 to 3 months. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done over there and how that's happening in the United States as well?
So many things have been happening here with our pavers, and basically we have worked with one of the largest building material supplier here, who's supplying us with waste, which is, as you know, the idea is taking this waste from landfill into building material. We've done some test lab here, and which was extremely positive compared to the average building material. And again, this is eco-friendly, cementless, and carbon capture product. So we've done phase 1. We are doing phase 2 now with a bigger and multiple type of a product. And that's also going to be tested and primarily on the carbon capture to prove the concept to our partners here. We're also in the beginning now of discussion with potential manufacturers. These are the top largest building material manufacturers in the UK,
Yep.
prototype it for them in order for them to have this on their as part of their business or supply chain. So that's what's happening in the UK. In Saudi, because we introduced it to Saudi with CERC, the Saudi Investment Recycling Company, we are just about to start the proof of concept. And the reason we want to do the proof of concept for them, just to make sure that our material meets the Saudi building code and building standards.
Right. Exactly.
It's exciting. There is a co-investment between the Saudi and ourselves on that proof of concept. And also immediately after that, we will have the pilot production plant, which is going to be in association with one of the clients in Saudi, one of the largest clients in Saudi. And we're doing the same. Maybe Lloyd, you can also share with us what's happening we're doing the same as we. The plan is to have 3 locations doing the same thing at the same time.
Exactly. So as people recall, we have some projects that have been kicked off with customers, potential customers and customers who are very interested. But you first have to make sure you can line up the raw materials, and that is what takes a little bit of time. But I'm very happy to say it's been very successful, and we have a very talented team who is now lining up the materials that you want to put as close to where the projects are. So whether those are in California or in Texas or wherever it is, you want to be able to process those materials on site and develop your pavers there, so you maximize your profit in doing that. So that's going really well, and I expect that we're going to be kind of a race to the finish here to see who gets the first qualification, if you will, of what the material does. But I just saw the lab analysis of one of the components today, and it was really promising. So I'm expecting that I will be traveling down to even do the first mix of some of the pavers, measuring the amount of carbon dioxide that actually gets pulled into the pavers. So this is all part of really the qualification process with customers, just as you said, because they need to see on a small scale, does it actually work? Can you get the carbon credits? And then they're willing to proceed. So that's going to be happening in, I would say, especially April. And I think we'll have good news to report in May.
Yes.
Well, this is a great update, guys, and I appreciate it. And listeners, once again, we are going through a shareholder update that the company has issued, CarbonMeta Technologies, using that ticker symbol again, COWI. Now, Lloyd, speaking to you right now, tell me a little bit about this next part, since we're kind of following along with how the press release laid out as well. Carbon Metaverse. What is it? Let's talk about that, but then let's jump into some recent news about the blockchain as well. Some interesting points being made by the founder of Ethereum when it comes to NFT as well. And we're going to tie this all in as well to some recent SEC guidelines and how the blockchain once again has these viable tracking methods. And but let's start off with that first question. What is Carbon Metaverse?
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Well, so all along we've been looking at how we can use blockchain for the tracking of plastics, and whether you can document the plastics going into a product, or even tracking carbon dioxide that is being captured and going into pavers. And so the metaverse and CarbonMeta, it was just a good play on words, but in many respects, what this is really all about is using the metaverse as a marketplace for tracking plastics, waste plastics, tracking carbon dioxide that is going into the products. And this is, I think, a really good use of blockchain. And I appreciate what Vitalik Buterin was saying, which was, look, this wasn't always about using Ethereum for NFTs for whatever purpose somebody might have. It really could have a good use for, as he mentioned, about voting systems, about public works projects, but also it can be used for very specific things of smart contracts. And this is one of the reasons that I joined the Government Blockchain Association, was that when I spoke with Gerard Daché, and that he was really looking at using blockchain to help governments, to help government agencies achieve their goals, whether that was going to be as a cryptocurrency or whether it was going to be used as a smart contract. It has some very serious implications for people's lives. And so I looked at using this as a means of tracking recovery of waste plastics, that when somebody brings a waste plastic to CarbonMeta, that we could first track that, whether that's in the form of an NFT or a utility token, yet to be seen. And that's one of the reasons why we're not quite ready to lay out the roadmap, but that's the next thing we'll be doing in the coming weeks. And when I'm at the Government Blockchain Association, I'll be talking in more detail about what it is we're doing using blockchain, either as a token or as an NFT for those purposes. And your point about the SEC is well taken. The SEC is putting together guidelines. They haven't published them yet, but they're coming out with guidelines about greenhouse gas emissions. And I think many folks are unsure, especially in the public company environment or community, of how do you do that? How do you actually measure it? And there are CO2. There are methods of measuring CO2, but is there a way you can actually document it? And I think blockchain has that ability, again, with the smart contracts capability, so that as you have documented proof that you have retired CO2 and captured it and put it into Pavers, or some of the companies that are capturing it and putting it into some are making ethanol out of CO2. Some are making a number of products, and oils even, out of CO2. This would be a great way to document that and use a smart contract to do that. And the company that purchases the product out of that can also be part of the smart contract chain, so that everybody has proof that they're doing something to improve the environment with greenhouse gas emissions. So I'm very, I've certainly been tracking blockchain probably since around 2017. I was looking at using it at the time for even for the trucking industry, where you can have invoices and purchase orders and bills of lading, and you can connect them all as smart contracts using blockchain. Same thing here. In this case, instead of connecting those kinds of documents, in this case would be tracking plastic coming in the door. It gets converted over into a 3D printing filament, or maybe even gets converted into carbon nanotubes or hydrogen. But all that is being tracked, and it is being documented. And then even the purchasers of those resulting products, they benefit as well in using that smart contract.
Well, Lloyd, just like the flow of the press release, let's go ahead and wrap up this interview as well. Once again, we are speaking with Lloyd Spencer and Mohammed Khalil. Lloyd, if you would, give us some of your closing thoughts for the shareholders who are tuning in today.
You bet. So again, I wanted to thank the shareholders for really their considerable patience. Every one of our initiatives are slowly moving forward, which I'm really happy to say. The waste to the carbon nanotubes and hydrogen, that is incrementally moving forth. We are now to the point where we can do our testing in the lab and start showing what we can produce, and then taking it to a different lab, and then even analyzing the carbon nanotubes and verifying the economic utility of those nanotubes. So that I'm really pleased that's happening, step by step. And the same with the plastic waste to the 3D printer material. Great work there, where it's been going step by step of taking the plastics, producing a filament. We're now in the testing phase in beta, and we'll start to see some movement. And we've already sold some of the beta, which is great. So I'm really even pleased to say we've got some sales. So that's great news. And to Mohammed's point about this petrochemical company that we've been working with now for about 2 months, I anticipate seeing great news on that front, on the sales front as well. And the Pavers, it takes, again, time to line everything all up, line up the stars with the potential customers, with the potential source suppliers, and then you got to put together the process for how you deliver all that. It's all coming together piece by piece, and not just in the United States, but over in Saudi Arabia and even the UK. So I'm really pleased about that. And the last point I'll make is in regard to blockchain is I just can't say enough about the Government Blockchain Association. When I met with them and Jura Dache, they really had some very solid ideas on how to implement and use blockchain. And I'm very honored that I'll be speaking at their conference in May. And I'll be talking about how blockchain can be used for environmental sustainability, but also how you can use it for transactions and how it can be used to actually build your business. So all things looking very good in these past 3 months, quite frankly. And I just can't say enough about everybody working at CarbonMeta, that they're all making things happen, and I just can't say enough.
Well, yeah, and I've watched Mohammed nodding emphatically. So Mohammed, it's been great having you as well, Managing Director of CarbonMeta Research. Any thoughts that you want to share with us before we wrap up this interview?
I just thank you, Stuart. It's been exciting 3 months, lining up multiple projects, multiple partners, and a few potential customers, but also different locations. It's been exciting, but yet successful. I think the next month, April and May, will be the month that we share the outstanding result that we believe going to come through in all levels, on all these projects. We believe that April is the month for us to move forward. It is exciting time for us.
And one last thing I'll leave is, we just last month we announced that we'll be doing an S1 in the coming weeks, and so that's moving forward as well. I didn't want to talk too much about that today because it's still in its early stages, but at our next shareholder update, I think there'll be even a press announcement at that time, but we can do another update here just specifically to talk on the investor side with the S1. But I will say it's looking good. We have some investors we're talking with, and some are proceeding, and that will actually work out very well for everybody, including the shareholders especially.
Outstanding. What a great update today from Lloyd and Mohammed. Lloyd, again, thank you for your time. We look forward to speaking with you on that next update.
You got it. Thanks again.
All right, Mohammed, thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, that's a wrap on this interview. Once again, go pull up this press release we've been discussing using that ticker symbol, COWI, for my guests, Lloyd Spencer and Mohammed Khalil. This is Stuart Smith saying thanks so much for tuning in and watching today.